We continue now at the top of Daf Ayin Beis Amud Aleph Meseches Zevachim. This is Zevachim Daf 72a. And the previous Amud, the Gemara asked, why do we need the same halacha taught in our Mishnah and a Mishnah in Avodah Zarah talking about the fact that Isurei Hana are not batel in majority? Again, our Mishnah was talking about a situation, let's say a shor haniskal, a shor that is supposed to be stoned, that's Isurei Hana. It gets mixed up with other animals. And again, the situation over there was it's not batel no matter how many other animals. And we have a Mishnah in Avodah Zarah that talks about Yei Nesach. It talks about wine used for libation for Avodah Zarah. Talks about the fact that it's not batel. So why is it that we need both Mishnayos? And the Gemara now continues and answers, Tzrichi, it's necessary to have both Mishnayos. The Imei Hasam, because if I only had the Mishnah over there in Avodah Zarah, Hava Amina Lehejot, one might have thought that that's only true when we're talking about for a regular person. We're not talking about karbonos. Avol Legavoa, but when things get mixed up with offerings, and we're talking about a possible loss to the Beis HaMikdash, Legavoa, to the Almighty, Eimolo, so one might say it's not the case. One might say there we do say that there's bittul, there's nullifications, there's nullification. Eimolo nafsedinu lekulu, one might say we shouldn't have them all be a loss to the Beis HaMikdash. V'imei hachan, if I only had the Mishnah over here with regards to Kodshim, Havamina Hanimili Kodshim Demois, one might think that's true by Kodshim, because it's considered repulsive that you're going to bring something to the Beis HaMikdash that is something that's Asr B'Hana, Aval Chulin, but when it comes to Chulin Delomois, where it's not repulsive, Emo Isurei Hana, live to li Beruba, so one might think the Isur Hana should be nullified in a majority. So Tzricha, that's why it's necessary to have both Mishnayos. Rashi explains, Tzrichi, it's necessary to Imei Hasam Hava Amina Hanimi Chulin. If we only had it over there, I would say it's true by Chulin. Avol Kodshim, but by Kodshim, by Korbanos, Emo Liavid Lehuta Kanta, one might think we should have a solution. The Levatal Isurei Hana Beruba, that the Isurei Hana should be nullified in a majority. V'nemo Yikriv, one we should say they should be brought to the Beis HaMikdash as offerings. Ki Echi Delo Nafsedinu Legamri Lekulu, so that it's not a total loss. But the Gemara continues and asks, V'nivtalu Beruba, but why don't we say that there is bittul barov? Why don't we say there's nullification in the majority? Rashi explains, Uparchinan v'nivtal baruba dehaksiv acharei ravim lahatos. It's a pasuk. It says you follow majority. So why don't we say there's bittul barov? And the Gemara says, V'chi tema. Now, if you're going to say chashivi, that animals are considered to be important, v'lo batli, and that's why they are not nullified. Rashi explains, V'chi tema chashivi hoel v'darkon limnos. The reason why they're considered important is because you count them by unit. You don't sell them in a large amount altogether, but it's generally done by unit, one at a time. That's what it means, kol shedarko limanos, something which its way is to be counted. And so maybe you'll say that's the idea, it's chashivi v'lo batli, these are important and they're not nullified. But hanichol amandamar kol shedarko limanos shaninu, that works according to the one who says anything which the normal way is to count them one by one, individually by unit, that would work over here by animals. But according to the one who says that it's something that can only be counted by unit and in no other fashion, so that's not true by animals. So they would not be considered chashivi, they wouldn't be considered important. So ma'ikol amemer, what are we going to say according to that opinion? Rashi explains, Kol shedarko limanos sheyesh b'nei adam hamakpidin b'minyanim. Kol shedarko limanos means that there are some people who are strict in terms of counting them, umochrin b'minyanim, and they sell them by unit. Shaninu, that's the way that the halacha should be taught. The lo batli, that's the case where we learn that they're not nullified. B'samach b'hach mishnah, this is going to be, we're going to see this in the Gemara by this mishnah that's about to be brought, the chavile tilson, this is the mishnah about the fenugreek. So then shaper, if you learn the mishnah that way, it makes sense. To behemos nami, harbe b'nei adam hamakpidan alehen, because when it comes to animals also, there are many people who are strict, umochno son b'minyan, and they sell them by unit, by each individual animal. V'yafal pishayesh b'nei adam she'ein makpidan kol kach. Now, even though there are some who are not so strict, umosifin yaseir, they'll add a little extra animals, umochrin ha'eder yacha, they might sell an entire flock together, but still there are people who are strict. But according to the one who says it's not kol shedarko limanos, but it's es shedarko limanos, shedarko miyuchad lakach, this is the only way to do it. She'ein lachadam demosif alei and yaseir l'lokach, there isn't a person who would add an extra one for the buyer. V'lo mocher below minyan, no one would sell this item not by units. They would always sell it by unit. So hani ein darkon miyuchad laminyan. When it comes to animals, it's not. These are not something that people only sell it by units. Sheyesh hamosifin yisero mochron ha'eder below minyan. There are people who would add an extra one, or they would sell the entire flock without counting each unit, without counting each animal. And so again, ma'ikol amemer, what are we going to say according to that opinion? And the Gemara continues the Tanan, as we learned in a Mishnah, and this is a Mishnah in Meseches Orla. It says, "Mi shahayu lo chavile tilson shel kilei hakerem." If somebody has fenugreek of kilayim, And Rashi explains, tilson is min tavlin, it's a kind of spice, the chashuvin me'od, and they're considered very important, it's considered very valuable. Sha'af tam ha'etz shava lepri, even the taste of the wood is the same as the fruit, and we will continue with this discussion in the next video on Daf Ayin Beis Amud Beis.